Hello everyone, good morning. So, today we're gonna finish making the bagels. I was trying to figure out yesterday and this morning how we're going to work this out because the bagels need 3 hours to rest, and I love chatting with you guys, but today I want to get some other things done. I'll be back to chat on Wednesday if you just want to chat. I do like watch me eat toast, midweek toast on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time if you just want to chat. But today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the stream into two. So right now at 8 a.m. Eastern time is the time it is right now. I'm going to show you how to shape the bagels. And then we're going to let it rest for 3 hours. It's kind of cold in my house, so it's going to take a while. That's another thing that I was trying to figure out how how we're gonna do this. But I do want to show you the full process. Hi, Death Duck. Welcome back to the chat. I appreciate your Death Duck emojis. Um, so I want to show you the whole process. So I'm going to come back at I'm assuming it'll be about 11:30 at that time, but I'll let you know when we're done how long I think it's going to take. But I'm assuming it'll be around 11:30, and I'm going to show you how to boil the. Wait though. Okay, wait for what? We'll see. At 11:30, I'm going to show you how to boil the bagels. Because you can boil, like, I know in a bagel shop they have. That duck says no, you file first. You go first. Okay, I'm not sure. That duck. I'm going first now. So I'll show you how to boil the bagels, and then because you can boil them at home. It's I guess more time consuming than if you had a big pot for your bagels. We can boil them in a smaller pot one by one, or if you have a bigger pot, you can do it two at a time. And I'll show you how to bake them. So we'll do it the stream in two parts. So, Duck Duck, how are you today? Okay. Um, so, Duck Duck, traumatized by what? The bagels? Okay, so if you were here yesterday, you saw how. Duck Duck says he watched Hereditary. Hereditary is a great movie. If you like horror films, you should watch it. It's really great. And then Duck Duck says, go ahead and watch Devil's Advocate. You're good to go. Okay, I will. So this is what it looks like now. If anyone remembers, it was very small before. Duck Duck says nothing there that will bother you if you like Hereditary. I think it'll probably take a lot to bother me. Um, so it's almost to the top. That's how high we want it. Yes, this is huge. This is how high we want it. It was cold in my house, so it took a while yesterday. I think I put it in the fridge at 7 p.m. So after we ended the stream, it took 7 more hours. So it took like 10 hours. That's long. It usually doesn't take that long. But it must have been cold. It took a little longer. But it did work. So your sourdough, even if it's cold or warm, and it'll maybe rise slower in the cold, but it will still rise. So I'm going to take it out. Death Duck says you probably slept somewhere in there lucky. I'm about to fall out for sure. Fall out to sleep? Okay. So now we have our dough. I'm going to cut it up into 6 pieces because I'm making 6 bagels. If you want to make bigger bagels, you'd have to cut it up into if you want to make bigger bagels, you can cut it up into 4 pieces, but I'm going to cut it up into 6. Death Duck says he hasn't slept since last stream. He's just sitting here waiting for me. Death Duck, you can go to sleep. You don't have to sit here and wait for me. Sleep is good. So I'm cutting in half. It's still a little cold. I'm happy it's satisfying. And then I'm cutting into 3. Now, I always cut uneven. You should try to cut even, but that's why I have the scale here. So that way I can measure it out afterwards. Death Duck said he made bread yesterday. What did you make yesterday, Death Duck? Yeah, see, this one's way uneven. I can already tell. I'll put that on. Death Duck says I didn't watch carefully and it got a bit scorched. Did you burn it in the oven? Death Duck says it was a stovetop recipe. Oh, okay. This is 130 grams. 150. I think 150 is about right. 130 might be a little small. This one's like 200, so this one's way too big. I can tell already by looking at it that it's way too big. So, Death Duck, how'd you make bread on the stovetop? I don't think I've ever done that besides flatbread. Of course, I made flatbread on the stovetop. Death Duck says, I've done it before and it worked great, but this time I wandered off. Sad face. Okay. Okay, that one's still a little big. So yeah, we're going to get them around 150. It's okay if they're not all exact, but, you know, we can't be having this 200 gram one. That one's much too big. 150. Let's see. This one's too big now. That one's okay. Okay, that's good. Oh, poor Death Duck. He has a sad face. What kind of bread was it that you could make on the stovetop like that? Was it I mean, I've made flatbread before, obviously, on the stovetop, but not like a whole loaf. That's pretty interesting. Okay, so I have 6 pieces, right? 6 pieces. Now I'm going to shape them. Notice some of them have little daubs on them. That's because I evened them out to be 150 grams approximately each. If you cut them more evenly, you don't have to like sit there and weigh them all out and cut pieces off of each one. But I didn't measure them out evenly enough when I first cut it. So then I had to measure using my kitchen scale to about 150 grams each. So now I'm just going to roll it up into a ball. Death Duck says, yeah, it was pretty flatbread. Okay, so it was like a flatbread, I guess. Yeah. Death Duck says, I don't know. Death Duck said it had yeast. I like making flatbread on the stovetop. I'll probably show you guys how to do that eventually. Death Duck says, but it's a small recipe. Yeah, I actually have some flatbread going for tomorrow, but I'm not going to show you that today. Recipe. Death Duck said recipe. Recipe. So are the peas resting, I hope. So see, I rolled it up and now it's a ball. And I pinched the edges. So I just pinch them closed. And then I just do the same thing for all of them. I flatten out a little bit so it's all together. It's okay to get the bubbles out. Death Duck says, you're such an edge pincher, says Brooke. Wait, Death Duck, are you my sister's friend? I didn't know you were my sister's friend. Or you just happen to know that my sister's name is Brooke. And now Duck Duck is dancing. I guess I'll never know. So, Duck Duck says you kept calling her that last stream. Oh, so you just know who she is. Okay, you just know from me. I just gave it away. Yeah, I don't know your sister, Duck Duck. I don't. Duck Duck says that would be wild. It would be. It would be wild. My mom knows my sister. Yeah. If anyone is on here and is interested in video games like Toontown and some other like older video games, some kind of cute fun video games, you can follow you can follow my sister at xpumpkin without the I if you're interested. So now I'm gonna roll this one up. And I'm an edge pincher. Yeah, it's XPUMPKN. So keep doing the same thing for all 6 ones. I have one here. XPUMPKN. That's my sister's channel. Yeah, and I was saying before, for bagels, it's okay to flatten it out and get the bubbles out of it because you don't really want a lot of holes in it anyway. Like with regular sourdough, a lot of people will tell you to like to be careful with it and keep the gas in the dough. For this one, you can degas it. Duck Duck says, "Okay, Mom seems to know quite a bit or so for an innocent bystander." Are you implying that Okay, Mom is not innocent? Seems like you're implying a lot there. Okay, Duck says, looks like you're inferring a lot. She seems to be okay with it. Yeah, that is her name. Okay, Mom. You should teach a lesson about implication and inference to one of my classes. I think they'd enjoy that. Duck says, I would love to do that. Also, I have a whole thing about the word literally. All right, Duck, tell us about the word literally. First, tell us what it actually means and tell us how people use it. Like I'm literally, I'm gonna bother Duck now. I'm literally shaping bagels right now. That's what I'm doing. Literally shaping bagels. Duck says, when people misuse the word literally, I literally want to figuratively punch them. Uh-oh. I hope you don't want to punch me after that. Yeah, I think people use it now to mean actually. They mean it to mean actually. Or sometimes they use it, like they'll say, sometimes they say, I'm literally, like for example, I'm literally making bagels right now. That means I'm doing it. And sometimes they use it to mean like, an exaggeration, like, I literally am so hungry I could eat a horse. Well, obviously you're not literally so hungry you can eat a horse. Um, so it's like almost like the meaning is more so of um, emphasizing how hungry they are. They're almost emphasizing the metaphor in that way. Um, but yeah. That's not what the word is supposed to mean. But that is a colloquial use of it. Death Duck says, I don't punch kids even figuratively. And Death Duck says, I know that there's a definition creep and that definitions change over time, but I hate how it seems that people seem to want to alter the meanings of words intentionally. Death Duck also said, bye, Mom. Yeah, I mean, I agree, Death Duck. It's kind of a balance between like things changing over time and then also sometimes people changing things for maybe ulterior motives or like not naturally. It's not naturally changing. Death Duck says, have fun at work. Don't be punchy unless someone is asking for it. Death Duck says, don't punch. Yeah. Don't punch. Do not punch. So for example, here's a word that annoys me. It's a new word. Death Duck. Have you heard of the word shiro? No. So shiro, yes, exactly like that. Can you guess what it means? Yeah. The S hero is more like it. Can you guess what it means? Woman hero. Yes, we already have a word for that. You can either use hero, which is gender neutral, or you can use the word heroine. So we have a word for that. But for some reason, people have been using, heroine. For some reason, one of the professors I work with actually used this word, and I laughed. And she's like, "Oh no, it's great. She's like, I love new words." And I'm like, "No, I don't like this word. I think this word is silly." Death Duck says, "Great stuff unless you freebase it." What does that mean, freebase it? Oh, you mean like the actual drug? I'm assuming. I don't know about drugs. Yeah. So that's how innocent I am, and I hope everyone watching is also that innocent, doesn't know what that meant. Okay. So, yes, I didn't like the word shiro. Thought it was silly. I mean, if you use it like in a silly way, I don't really care. Like it's a joke word. But I've seen people use it, like my professor was using it like it was going to be an actual word, or it should be an actual word. I don't think so. I think we have a word for that. And if you don't like the word heroine, hero is a gender neutral word. You can use hero. So I think that was an intentional trying to shift of the language. So I don't mind when the language shifts, like, because that's just natural. Language is going to shift. Always is. But when there's an intentional shift in the language for maybe ulterior motives, I'm not into it. Zen 010 says, yo, I have a question as vegan. What do you think of raw carnivorism? Well, Zen 010, obviously, I'm a vegan, so I don't agree with raw carnivorism. It also sounds dangerous. So that would be my advice is not to do it. Because regardless of my ethical take on meat eating, that's probably dangerous. And Death Duck says, yeah, it's like herstory. Yeah. That's exact. I 100% agree with you because the root word of HIS is not, in the word history is not related to the male, like, you know, the male word his. It doesn't literally mean his story. Like, that was so silly. But as a silly word, I don't really care. But if you're taking it seriously, it's like, what? That's not a real word. Doug says, I think of raw carnivorism as a sort of Darwin's filter. Yeah, you shouldn't do it. It's a little dangerous. As you can see, I don't know if Zen is still in the chat or if he just came to ask me about raw carnivorism. But I'm not a raw vegan either, so I don't think it's an appropriate question. I'm obviously making bread. Oh yeah, you're here? I'm making bread, so I'm not a raw vegan if you were thinking I was a raw vegan. I know some vegans only eat like fruit. I eat lots of foods, not just raw foods. So I don't suggest being a raw foodie at all, but especially raw, like eating raw meat, probably shouldn't do it. Not recommended. But yeah, there was another one that was similar. Oh yeah. This is um, I don't think this was very common, but Death Duck and Zen 010. Let me know if you want me to call you something else, Zen 010. But there was a pastor, I believe, who I guess he had the best intentions, but instead of saying amen, which is not even an English word, it's a Hebrew word, and men has no, the word amen has no relation to obviously the word man in English. And he said a woman. A woman. And it was so silly. It's like, what? That's not. The word amen is not sexist. And it says Zen 010, history is Latin, I believe, from Historia. Yeah, it is a Latin word, and it doesn't have anything to do with, like, his story. Yeah. Oh, Death Dug. Oh, Zen 010, like, amen, yeah, that's Semitic. For example, Arabic is amen. And Death Dug says, I have a secondary degree in Hebrew. That's painful to hear. Oh, Death Dug, you have a secondary degree in Hebrew. That's so interesting. Do you teach Hebrew? So now we should have 6 balls. And we do. So, Death Duck says, it's not as interesting as you think. It's interesting to know a second language, and that language is not widely spoken in the US, at least. Maybe as a liturgical language, but so that's interesting. Did you study it as like as a spoken language, like how maybe people in Israel would use it, or did you study it as like a liturgical language? Me, I unfortunately only know. Zen 010 asked me what languages I know, and I unfortunately only know English. I did study French for a while, but I don't remember any of it. And my husband speaks Spanish, and I can understand him most of the time when he's speaking, but I usually can only answer back in English. Death Duck says it's not useful at all. It's biblical Hebrew, not even modern. Yeah, so then why did you study it? That's so interesting. Why did you choose to study it? Unless you were going to become a rabbi? So what I'm going to do is I have this here, right? Shaped like this. Zen 010. Some of my family is Jewish, but I'm not practicing. And Death Duck said, I've learned more Spanish from Duolingo in the past 6 months than I remember Hebrew from my degree. Yeah, Duolingo's actually not that bad. It gets a hard knock, but it's I think useful. It's a useful start. Death Duck says, no, duck aren't Jewish either. Yeah, so it's such a weird language to pick to learn, but it's so... Maybe, Death Duck, did you study history? Is that why? I think you might have told me you studied history. So I'm going to pinch it like this. See what I'm doing? I'm pinching it. And this is how I'm going to form the hole. Just keep going. And eventually you're going to form a hole. Zen010 says, for me, I am Dutch, so I know Dutch, and in school we get German, French, and English. Then I also got Latin. And for religious reasons, I learned Arabic, and I also learned Russian for fun. So you're a polyglot. So you live in the Netherlands, Zen010. Death Degree says, it was a part of a history degree, and I thought I would choose Hebrew as my foreign language. I should have just done Spanish. Okay. Yeah, so in America, unfortunately, I think the language learning system isn't very good. I think we do learn Spanish in school, but most people don't remember it. Yeah, so I did. I mean, I was doing pretty well with French when I was younger, but that was so many years ago, and it's not that French, unless I guess you live in Canada or close to it, where there might be some French speakers, or maybe you live somewhere where there's a high, like, West African population that might speak French. It's not that useful, because even the West African population, they speak a different dialect. It's not quite standard French. So, it's not used, so I don't use it. Deathduck says, I mostly just know how stupid biblical pronunciation of Hebrew words are now. Yay. Yeah, I don't know anything about the pronunciation of the words. So here's one, and I'm going to keep going with all of them the same way. So see, I formed a hole. It might close up when it's baking, but that's okay. If you want it to be bigger, you can just keep going like this and it'll get wider. But for me, it's okay if it closes up. Zen010 says, have most people know English? Oh, here most people know English because of social media, but most people just forget the French and German after school. Yeah, so I guess the same as here. Like, most people will forget it. And I guess English is so useful that they don't forget it because they're using it a lot on social media. So here I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just go around until I get a hole. It's okay if it's not perfectly even. Try to get it as even as you can. Mine are never quite even. Yeah, I don't think I've met anyone who knew biblical Hebrew besides maybe a history professor who just happened to know biblical Hebrew and is not like a rabbi or something. That says Abraham is more like Avraham, for instance. David is more David. Yeah, David. I've heard that. And then Zen010 says, do you learn to pronounce it like how they historically did or how the Israelis say it? I think they try to do it like they historically did it, but Detzak can correct me. Because he said, Detzak was saying that he didn't even learn modern Hebrew. Detzak says, yeah, I learned how they did it historically, so it's pretty useless. No, you could become a rabbi. You can teach at Hebrew school. The kids at Hebrew school, I'm sure in California it's the same. In Hebrew school here, they don't teach you really how to speak Hebrew. They teach you how to read the Torah. They teach you how to pronounce it historically. They don't teach you how to read it like a modern translation or anything. So you can teach at Hebrew school. That duck says they don't allow ducks to be rabbis. That's in the Talmud. It's like Talmud lesson 1. I believe you, Death Duck, that that is in the Talmud. I've never read the Talmud, so I'm assuming that it might say something about ducks not being rabbis. Zen 010. I don't know Hebrew, but the historical Hebrew is easy to understand because the sounds are like how you say in Arabic, like the ayin and kaf and stuff. Oh yeah, Zen 010, Arabic. That is very similar to Hebrew. Death Duck says if you have a handle on Arabic, then yeah, you have a leg up. Yeah, I'd imagine they're very similar. Yeah, but Death Duck, I think Spanish would have been easier. Probably would have been easier. You see, I got a hole in this one now. I'll keep going until I have six. Death Duck said, I've had so many opportunities to learn Spanish and never did. I took German in high school instead of Spanish. Probably because German sounds more fun, I guess, to a high schooler. Because everyone in the United States anyway, most people take Spanish as their second language. In high school, I took French. I did take Spanish, I think, when I was a freshman, but then I switched to French. That was nice. But now my husband speaks Spanish. He speaks English fluently. Like it's not like he doesn't speak English, but he speaks Spanish, and his parents speak Spanish. And they're not as fluent in English. Like they speak a little English, but mostly Spanish. And then they also speak a native Mexican language, um, which is just totally different than any language I've ever heard. Um, so it would have been nice to know more Spanish so I can talk to them, but I can usually understand them, but not really talk back. Zine010 says Spanish is easier than French and German, to be honest. I know a bit of it since I have family from Spain. Yeah, I think Spanish is one of the easier ones for an English speaker to learn. I'm not sure about a Dutch speaker, but probably also for a Dutch speaker to learn. And Death Duck says, well, the German thing was for a girl. I have to admit, don't tell Mrs. Duck. You can tell her that was long before her, and she's also a German duck. Okay, Frau Pato, I call her. Yeah, that's cute. Learning German for a German duck. Okay. I'm gonna keep going. So Zen 010, do you bake at all? And then Detuk says, why do bagels have the bagel shape? Is that just custom, or is there another purpose? At this point, I believe it's just custom. I do use the hole. You'll see later. I use the hole to help me flip the bagel. But this is actually a good question. So in the past, and I've seen it still, although not as often, but I've seen it sometimes. They used to sell bagels in the street. And I think they still do it in Eastern Europe. And they used to sell the bagels on a stick. So they'd have a stick, and they'd put all the bagels onto the stick. So they'd have like a big stick of bagels, and people would, take it off of there if they bought one. So the hole was like kind of like to carry them around. So yeah, I believe that is the original intention, and it's not. It's just for custom at this point. And Zen010 says German is really close to Dutch, so it's easier to understand, but I just think the Spanish grammar is easier. Yeah, probably. I haven't learned German, but it's probably Spanish grammar is pretty easy. And then Zen010 says bake like cookies and stuff. Nah, but my diet is. No, I am not a raw carnivore. That's good. But that is getting more popular around here. I eat a lot of chicken, eggs, rice, and beef. And then Death Duck said Dutch is okay, but Afrikaans breaks my poor duck brain. It sounds like someone is making a joke constantly. I can't take Afrikaans seriously. And then Death Duck says German has too many does. I can't say for Africans because I don't know how often I've heard Africans. I don't think I hear that very often. I'd have to look it up. Well, Zen010, I'm sorry to hear the low carb lifestyle is taking over the Netherlands. I think in the US it's getting more popular too, but Zen010 says, I can understand Afrikaans. Am I pronouncing it wrong? Afrikaans. I thought that's how you pronounce it. Fluently, so it's so close to Dutch. If you listen to a sentence like a couple of times, you understand. Okay, I believe that it's really close to Dutch. So yeah, Afrikaans? Is it Afrikaans? Have I been pronouncing it wrong the whole time? Afrikaans? Afrikaans? No, it's not Afrikaans. I've never heard anyone say that. Now I have to look that up. How to pronounce that. It is? Oh, jeez. Well, I've been mispronouncing it all my life then. Afrikaans? Oh, wow. Zen010 confirms this. Well, thank you. Learn something new every day. Zen010, it's literally just how you say Afrikanish in Dutch. So Afrikaans is how you say Afrikanish in Dutch. Okay. Well, I did say I was unfamiliar with the language, so I guess that proves that. Okay. Deathduck says, I wouldn't steer you wrong about language. It sounds like a crazy. A lot of languages that you're unfamiliar sound like that. If you're not familiar with them. Deathduck says, sorry if I'm sideswiping Dutch a bit here. I feel like in Zen010 told us that Duck says Afrikaans is crazy. But I feel like Zen010 in the Netherlands, I feel like they have a lot of good, pastries and stuff like that. And Deathduck says so many double vowels that you have to pronounce, and you have to pronounce them all. All right, we're on the last one. I'm going to pinch this one the same way. Zen010 says, not sure what that says, might be a typo. These language combinations are to indicate different vowels because we have more vowels than letters for them. Oh yeah, like that's a lot of languages have that. Even English has that. Although English, the spelling isn't really consistent. That's the biggest problem with English probably is that the spelling isn't very consistent. But even English has double vowels that indicate one vowel sound. Death Duck says, I'm not meaning to offend. I lived in Zimbabwe for a few years and I had an easier time listening to Swahili than Afrikaans. Oh, that's really interesting, Death Duck. How is life as a duck in Zimbabwe? I'm just pinching it because I saw some of it coming apart. Try to keep it together. Zen010 says, I mean, Swahili is pretty easy compared to Afrikaans except for the grammatical gender. Detlek says fewer geese in Zimbabwe, so that was a plus. Okay. Like geese. Okay. So now we have 6 bagels shaped. Try to keep it together. If you see some of them starting to come apart by the seams, pinch the seams closed. Now what we're going to do, are they donuts? Zen010, these are bagels. So yesterday, I know you weren't here yesterday, but please follow if you're interested in watching me bake. But yesterday we made these bagels, the dough anyway, we made the dough for the bagels, and then we also made miso banana bread. Now, because they're sourdough bagels, they take a long time. So I came back today and I'm going to show you the end of the process. Now, the thing is, we have to let it rest. So it did its first rise yesterday and it has to do its second rise. So there's a lot of downtime when you're making sourdough, a lot of downtime. So I'm going to give it time to do its second rise. Now, I'm going to cover them. Yeah, Death Duck, second rise. Shalom. Who's in here? In the name of Gayat, first time chat, welcome, shalom, to the bagel stream. So as I was saying earlier, and happy President's Day, by the way. So much rise. Yes, so much rise. Yesterday we made this bagel dough and it's a sourdough. So there's a lot of downtime with sourdough. You have to let it ferment all the way or you're not going to get good bread. With yeast, like a yeast packet, it's going to be fast. Sourdough is a slow burn. It's going to be a slow burn. So yesterday we let it rise and we saw in the beginning of this stream how big the dough was, how big it got, and then we shaped the bagels. We shaped the bagels just now and now we have 6. They're going to be smaller bagels, but if you want bigger bagels, you can double the dough and put it in a bigger bowl, or you can, and then you have to actually make sure you just cut them up into bigger pieces. I did 150 grams here. If you want them to be bigger, maybe 200 grams. So these are each 150 grams. So I'm going to cover these. I have a towel here so I can cover them. So I'm going to cover them and I'm going to let them rise for 3 more hours. So let's say I'm going to end this stream at 9 a.m.-ish. So I'll come back at 12 p.m. So I'll come back at lunchtime. Yeah, Death Duck, go to sleep. You don't have to. I know you want to watch the bagels being made, but you're allowed to go to sleep, Death Duck. If you can't make it to the next part of the stream, at 12, I'm going to come back at 12 p.m. and I'll probably be on for at least 2 hours because we have to boil them and then bake them. And I'm going to show you the finished product, so that's probably going to take an hour and a half. Death Duck says, leave the streams on so I can watch them rise in real time. Yeah, no, I don't watch them rise. I don't recommend you sit there and watch them rise. But it'll be, so you see how they are now. So then in 3 hours, I'll show you how they are, and you'll see how big they've gotten. That'll be more productive than watching them rise for 3 hours. So at 12 p.m., I'm going to come back. We're going to boil the bagels, and then we're going to bake the bagels, and I'll show you the finished product. And if you weren't here yesterday, you can go back to my stream. It's on Twitch, and I will upload them all on YouTube too. I haven't done that yet. And you can watch that stream, or you can watch the short that's on YouTube, my YouTube and TikTok. That Duck says, keep them covered. That seem licentious when you uncovered them like that. Yeah, it was scandalous, I suppose. Yeah, to uncover them. They need their covering on, right? They're modest bagels, let's say. That's what they'd be called, modest bagels. So yeah, we're gonna boil them and bake them later. Yes, modesty. Modesty is good for bagels. But what I was saying before is that this is a family channel. Is that if you didn't see my stream yesterday, you can also watch my YouTube short and TikTok short. The links to those are on my Twitch page, but everything is under Jersey Girl Bread Shop, so you can find me under Jersey Girl Bread Shop. And it's also on Instagram too, on Jersey Girl Bread Shop. I'm working on making the longer bagel video, not the Twitch stream, but a longer version of the short where I just give you instructions. Hopefully I'll have that up by today or tomorrow. But yes, good. Are there any other questions on baking or bagel making? I'll keep them covered. Okay, so it is 8:50 a.m. right now. I'm going to come back at 12 p.m. So if you're not sleeping, if you're around and you want to see me finish, come back at 12 p.m. and I'll be on for about 2-ish hours because that's approximately how long it'll take to finish it. And Death Duck says, I have a question, but I'm going to wait to ask it till later. Okay. And I'll show you how to boil them and then how to bake them. And then I'll show you the finished product. And for any of you who can't come back later, I'll repost it and just want to point out my schedule for next week really quick. Yeah. I want to point out my schedule really quick. Next week it'll be like a normal schedule for me, so I'm going to be on Wednesday. Wednesday I'm just going to be cooking some toast, making some toast, showing you what I make on my toast, and then chatting for a little bit. And then on Saturday, Wednesday and Saturday. So on Saturday, I'm going to be showing you sourdough baking like I did yesterday. And then let's see. Death Duck says Hereditary was brutal. I love Hereditary. If anyone likes horror movies, watch Hereditary. Zen010, are you guys like baking the same thing at the same time? I wish everyone was, maybe in the future we could do like a bake where everyone's just baking the same thing. But no, I'm just showing, doing a tutorial of how to do it and people are watching. But in the future, that would be a good idea. And Death Duck says, I'm not baking what she's baking, but that's a good idea. That's a good idea. But this is only my second week. Everyone who's here, thank you for watching. But this is my second week doing this. So hopefully in the future we can do things like if I have more eyes and more viewers we can coordinate something like that where it's like a bake with me and everyone is doing it at the same time. That would be really fun. So yeah, are there any other questions? Okay. So thank you everyone for watching. Sorry this was a little shorter stream, but I'll be back at 12 and we'll finish these. Okay, so I'll see everyone back here at 12 p.m.